At first glance, if we look at it, it doesn't seem to buy anything special. But wait, this is made up of Toromiro wood obtained from only a rare Easter island. It had shiny obsidian eyes and circles around them, maybe from the bird bones. People aren't sure what it was used for, but they think it might have been important for ceremonies or related to a bird cult on the island. The eyes of the item are inset with obsidian, a natural glass material. Additionally, the eye circlets surrounding them were likely sections of the bird's leg bone, although this detail is not entirely clear. The item was likely crafted towards the end of the 19th century or the beginning of the 20th century, possibly even later. The precision of the carving indicates that it may have been replicated from an existing example. By the late 19th century, such items became tourist pieces as their cultural significance waned. Even though it's not super old, it's still worth a good amount, like $3,000 to $5,000. They said if it was from the 1700s, it could be worth way more, like $50,000 to $100,000.
I think this probably maybe $3,000 to $5,000.
Wow.
As a retail price.
That's fantastic.
This piece of chair is believed to be a Swedish monk's chair. However, while the style resembled a traditional Swedish monk's chair, the use of walnut wood says otherwise. Walnut is not commonly found in Northern Europe, which means the chair was likely crafted by a chairmaker of Swedish descent, possibly in the upper Midwest region of the United States around 1900. Despite the unexpected origin, the chair's craftsmanship and style remained impressive and at auction would have a value of,
I would put an auction estimate of around about $500 to $750 on it.
Perfect, good. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
This meticulously carved powder horn is a tangible testament to the artistry and ingenuity of generations past. Showcased on the show by this guest, it had been in her mother's family for about 70 years. The horn was made in the Boston area in 1775, during the siege of Boston. Inscribed on one side of the horn is the term Roxbury Camps. Another noteworthy detail is an inscription that reads, by Ambalimek Uncas. Ambalimek Uncas was a Native American soldier who served in Colonel Timothy Danielson's regiment in 1775. Furthermore, there are a small handful of other horns that were decorated by Native Americans.
A small handful of other horns that were likely decorated by Native Americans.
This interesting and important piece of American history is truly a beautiful example of carving in marvelous condition, and it would fetch an auction price of around.
This powder horn at auction could easily sell in the $8,000 to $12,000 range. And I think it has a really good potential of bringing more because of the history, because of Abimelech's association.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's amazing.
The 1893 World's Columbian Exposition Safe Bank was likely a souvenir sold during the fair. 15 years ago, at a local show, it was discovered in a booth and purchased for $250. These are what are known as still banks, with a variety of forms available.
This was made for the Columbian Exposition, which celebrated the 400th anniversary of the discovery of America, and it was in Chicago in 1893.
The object displays 3 portraits on its sides, with a copper-plated inset revealing Grover Cleveland, the president during that period. On the back, Columbus was undoubtedly regarded as the hero of the fair, and T.W. Palmer, the chairman of the fair. There's something in the bottom.
It says on the bottom, patent applied for, which means it really was never granted.
Describing the safe bank, it's a rare nickel-plated cast iron piece with copper inserts. The appraiser values them at around $10,000 to $12,000. These items are from the collection of the guest father, who attended the University of Notre Dame from 1927 to 1931, and was in charge of athletic equipment for Knute Rockne, the legendary football coach, during his junior and senior years. The collection includes letters written by Rockne to the guest father, giving instructions and details about various matters. One of the guest's favorite stories about Rockne is his kindness to injured football players, providing them. Rockne's tragic death in a plane crash in 1931, shortly after winning the national championship in 1930, marked the end of an era at Notre Dame.
And then coached at Notre Dame. You brought along a publication that has your father pictured there in the center.
The guest also brought a publication from 1928, the Notre Dame Scholastic, featuring a picture of his father, showcasing the deep connection between his family and the university's football legacy. The letters from Rockney are not just historical artifacts, but cherished family heirlooms. At auction, these letters could fetch between an estimate of $4,300.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Of course, we don't plan to ever sell them. We'll pass them on to our...
The guest brought in a plant stand with a fascinating backstory. Originally belonging to the guest's grandmother, it was sold in an estate sale when the guest's father was just 16. Years later, a distant cousin who had purchased the plant stand at the estate sale returned it to the family. The plant stand is a piece designed by the Charles Parker Company of Meridian, Connecticut, dating back to around 1880. The company, known for various household items like flatware and furniture, wasn't as prominent as some of its contemporaries. The plant stand's design embodied the aesthetic movement style, characterized by its unexpected and often Japanese-inspired elements. The specific features includes thistles, an exotic dancer with a tambourine, a style that is truly exquisite. Considering the ongoing popularity of aesthetic movement furniture and the plant stand's unique design, at auction, the estimated value is to be between
the value of the table between $800 and $1,200.
Wow, great.
Acquired in the late 1950s during a trip to New York, this stunning red lacquer piece is a remarkable example of Cinnabar lacquerware, a technique dating back to China's 12th century. Cinnabar lacquer involves painstakingly layering resin, sometimes up to 200 layers, then intricately carving the surface. This process creates a rich, detailed design, as seen in this piece. The size and decoration style of this piece suggests it's from the early to mid-19th century.
So about 1820 to about 1850, we started to see larger proportions and more figural cartouches and more floral grounds.
The figural scenes depicted, such as the drunken poet and scholarly gentleman with antiques.
This is almost certainly on a wood carcass.
Okay.
20th century examples are man-made or organic resin put on tin metal or copper,
reflecting a transition from 18th century scholarly objects to more opulent merchant class taste. While it is uncommon to find such a large and well-preserved example of Cinnabar lacquerware, it is noted that the piece likely originally had a mate. Despite this, its estimated retail value is around...
It would probably sell for around $15,000.
$15,000. That's amazing.
The guest acquired a collection of silver gelatin prints of the silent film star Mia Farrow from the costume designer George Hopkins, who lived in the same building in Hollywood. The prints were rescued from a fire in the building's basement, where Hopkins had stored them and offered to pay.
He said, I'll pay you guys $20 a piece if you'll go down and just throw it all out. And we said, throw it all out? He said, yeah, I don't want anything down there.
Mia Farrow, known as the Vamp or the Vampire, was a symbol of her day, comparable to Marilyn Monroe.
She was the looker. She starred in only silent films. She did not ever utter a word.
The prints taken by the renowned Hollywood photographer Albert Wetzel include autographed and dated images, some featuring production details from the 1917 movie Duvery. Farrow was one of the highest-paid actresses of her time, earning $4,000 a week for her films. But most of her 40 films were lost in a fire at Fox Studios in 1937. The prints are in pristine condition and could fetch between $750 to $1,000 each at auction, with signed prints commanding $2,000 to $3,000 each, totaling a value of about...
This would be about $6,500 to $9,000.
Holy moly.
This framed and folded silk banner, believed to be a scarf worn at George Washington's inauguration ball in 1789, is a remarkable piece of American history and folklore. Featuring a design with an American eagle clutching olive branches and arrows, symbolizing peace and strength, the banner also includes the initials G and W, cleverly hidden within the design. The banner bears the name E. Forest in gold, along with 13 stars representing the original colonies.
They're probably silver little spangles with glass beads.
Right.
Each one is carefully sewn over the star for GW and the 13.
That is so exciting.
While its exact provenance cannot be definitively proven, its design in historical context suggests it may have been present at a ball held by French Count de Motier a week after Washington's inauguration. Despite its post-1900 origin, this unique piece of American history is valued at
The value on a bad day would be $3,000 to $6,000, and this is the kind of object that in the right situation could bring $10,000, $15,000 at an auction setting.
The guest acquired a French doll from the Jumeau factory. It's made between 1885 and 1900 after falling in love with dolls at an antique shop. The doll is marked Bébé Jumeau on the front and Titi Jumeau on the back.
Ted Jumeau, and it's a size number 8. What it also has is the original cork plate.
It features original blue glass paperweight eyes and a replaced wig that closely resembles the original style. Despite looking all original, the doll has a reproduction dress and label and wears German shoes with synthetic socks. Our guest purchased the doll for around $300 and was surprised to learn that, even though it's not all original, it could fetch between
$3,500 and $4,500. So you made a good buy, even though it's not original.
The appraiser reassures the guest that the doll is not a dud and was a good buy, considering its value despite not being completely original. For more than 20 years, passed down from a relative in New York City, they didn't know who painted it because the name on the front was hard to read. But when they checked the back, they found the name Bodkin. This turned out to be Henry Bodkin, an artist from Boston who spent a lot of time in New York City. He once worked with his cousin, the famous composer George Gershwin, in Charleston. In a rather serendipitous turn of events, it's noteworthy that the painting's subject matter coincides with the location where the guests currently find themselves, Charleston. Whether the painting was created in Charleston or not remains uncertain. The scene depicted portrays a somewhat disreputable-looking character within a restaurant or cafe interior, evoking perhaps nostalgic memories of his time spent in Paris. This charming artwork is rendered in oil on canvas, laid down on board, and is characteristic of the artist's style from the 1930s. Interestingly, the artist later gained recognition primarily for his abstract paintings during the 1940s and 1950s. And most importantly, it could be worth between $3,000 and $5,000 at auction. The painting comes from the guest's great-aunt, who was a teacher at Brooklyn Polytech High in New York in the 1920s, while Jane Peterson, the artist, was the director of drawing for the Brooklyn Public Schools. The guest's great-aunt, who was both a science teacher and artistically inclined, struck up a friendship with Peterson.
I do know that my great-aunt spent one of her summers off up in Gloucester, which is the site of this painting.
Peterson, born Jenny Christine in Elgin, Illinois in 1876, studied at Pratt Institute in New York and later in Europe.
And when she lived in Paris, she actually was neighbors with Gertrude Stein. And through that connection, managed to meet people like Picasso and Matisse.
The painting is housed in a frame likely made by another artist, George Off, known for his frames. Peterson was honored by Time magazine and was respected for her vibrant brushwork and use of bright colors, reminiscent of Post-Impressionism. Gloucester was one of Peterson's favorite painting locations, along with Venice, New York scenes, and floral still lifes. The painting was appraised in 1998 as a watercolor, but it is actually gouache,
which is a water-based paint, but it's very opaque. One thing that makes it desirable is having so many figures, and it's such a great subject to see these floats. It's a wonderful image.
With its detailed figures and vibrant subject, the painting could fetch as much as
$50,000.
Oh, my word. Wow.
The guest purchased this item at an estate sale in Grand Rapids approximately 4 years ago for $18. This comb was made by Marie de Hoa LeBlanc, renowned for her exceptional work at Newcomb College since the 1890s. Unlike typical floral patterns, this comb had rare animal motifs. Its date was determined to be 1906, placing it among the early works of Newcomb College. The piece exhibited a textured quality preferred by many collectors. Given its rarity, quality, and historical significance, the appraiser estimated its auction value.
This particular piece at auction today would be $5,000 to $7,000.
The guest inherited 2 paintings from her mother, who had a passion for collecting antiques and folk art. The first piece was Fancy Rabbits by A.J. Sims, portraying rabbits within an interior setting. The other piece was a wonderful cat portrait by Charles van den Eycken in a 19th century style. Eichen is renowned for his elaborate cat paintings and is a master of that specific style. The particular piece featured a mother cat, kittens, a jewelry box, and a still life, creating a rich and detailed composition. The guest revealed what his mother had spent on each painting.
Well, my mother purchased the fancy rabbits in 1967 for $85, $250 for the cats.
Considering the exceptional quality and significance, the value assessed for the artwork was...
The Sims I would value at probably between $2,000 and $4,000 is the Van den Eycken, and I would be putting that at between $15,000 and $25,000.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Today on the show, we have a baseball signed by one of the greatest baseball players of all time, Tyrus Raymond Cobb. Tyrus Raymond Cobb, popularly known as Ty Cobb, is a legendary baseball player who spent most of the 22 seasons of his career playing with the Detroit Tigers. Throughout his career, Cobb amassed numerous records and accolades. A phenomenal achievement was his batting average of .400 in one season. Cobb achieved this feat 3 times. He also went on to break the record for the highest career batting average in the history of Major League Baseball.
Ty Cobb, yes, he actually broke into the big leagues in 1905. He was only 18 years old. And everyone talks about having a .400 season. The last guy to do it was Ted Williams in 1941. Ty Cobb did it 3 times. Wow. 3 times. So he was pretty impressive.
He was known for his aggressive style of play and exceptional batting skills, establishing himself as one of the premier hitters in baseball. He was also one of the few baseball players to play in 3 World Series. Off the field, Cobb was known for his business acumen and investments, particularly in Coca-Cola stock, which ended up being worth a fortune by the time he died.
But in the 20s, he went back to Detroit. He bought General Motors stock, and in Atlanta, because he was a Georgia boy and lived there all his life, right. He bought Coca-Cola stock and ended up being worth $11 million by the time he died in 1961.
The guest great-aunt, who lived in Royston, Georgia at the same time as Ty Cobb, asked him to sign the ball for the guest's dad. This valuable baseball, signed by the legendary baseball player, has been safeguarded, preserved, and passed down by generations in the guest family. A baseball signed by one of the legendary Hall of Fame baseball players, whose records still stand today, will be worth at least...
I was going to put this one in another auction. I'd put in at least $10,000 to $15,000, and if I was going to insure it, I'd insure it for probably $20,000. Wow.
The guest's father was at Pearl Harbor, serving on the hospital ship Solace, near the USS Arizona. He retrieved a flag from the water near the Arizona. The flag had been in the family since then, symbolizing a significant piece of history and a reminder of the tragic events of Pearl Harbor. The appraiser discusses the significance of the flag in relation to the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Generally, the thing that drives the price is not necessarily the flag itself.
Despite its historical significance, the appraiser determines that the flag
was made in 1944, which presents a small problem for it being at Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941.
This discrepancy suggests that the flag may have not been at Pearl Harbor during the attack. The appraiser acknowledges the artifact's value as an interesting piece of World War II history, emphasizing the importance of the story and the artifact's connection to the guest's father, a decorated naval officer. The flag, while not directly linked to the Pearl Harbor attack, is valued at $300 to $500. However, if it had been authenticated as a Pearl Harbor flag, its value could have been as high as
an estimate of $250,000 to $300,000.
I think the monetary value was never anything that we had much of a consideration for anyway. It was really the historical value that we were really trying to ascertain and eventually get to, but really appreciate your help.
It's a vibrant expression of cultural identity and heritage, reflecting the artistic skills. Gohandle, the wife of Chief Woodenlance, which is the great-grandfather of the guest, made the dress. Crafted in 1915 for the family's favorite eldest daughter, Aunt Lucy, the dress was tailored to fit her as a 9-year-old and made bigger boots for her in the ancient Kiowa style. Dresses were often 2-piece. The dress features stunning beadwork by a renowned 19th century artisan. These items, akin to silk, boast intricate beauty, with most beads crafted from hand-cut Czechoslovakian glass. The treaty, signed by Wooden Lance with federal government in 1899, designates him as chief of the Kiowas and mandates respectful treatment to uphold his commitment. The appraiser values the item between $12,000 and $15,000. A woman brings a treasure chest of drawers to show, inherited from her father's family for many years, possibly dating back to her great-great-grandfather.
Who is one of the framers of the Declaration of Independence. So I don't know if it's that old.
It's a piece of Chippendale's tall chest of drawers, a style named after the London cabinet maker Thomas Chippendale. This chest exhibits all the characteristics of an 18th century Pennsylvania-made piece. The Chippendale tall chest boasts 5 drawers on top for easy access to frequently used items. Below them sit 4 graduated drawers, offering ample storage for larger belongings. These drawers are adorned with distinctive lemon-shaped pulls, adding a touch of whimsy to the piece. One drawer front features a beautiful tulip inlay, a testament to the craftsmanship that went into this piece. Constructed from black walnut, the preferred wood of Pennsylvania furniture makers. Finally, a secret Quaker lock adds an extra layer of security to the chest's precious contents. At auction, the Chippendale tall chest could fetch.
Today, it's probably worth at least $30,000 to $50,000 at auction.
Is it really?
The guest presents a collection of unique mugs, each imbued with a touch of Hollywood history. They were specially made for cast and crew members of John Wayne movies. Most of them were hand-painted and personalized with messages and imageries related to the films.
And generally a picture from one of the scenes of the movies. The only exception was The Quiet Man, where there's nothing on the back.
The guest father, Al Murphy, was John Wayne's right-hand man during the actor's golden age. This special connection is evident in the inscriptions on the mugs, all addressed to Al or Murph from Duke. The collection showcases a variety of designs, some featuring scenes from the movies, while others offering a more personal touch.
So there can't be anything that has better provenance than coming directly from John Wayne.
Notably, the mug from The Quiet Man stands out with its inscription in Gaelic, 100,000 welcomes, and its distinct green color, the only one in the collection. These mugs rarely surface outside the families who receive them. The appraiser estimates the entire collection to be worth.
We sold the Green Berets one for almost $6,000. Comancheros for $4,000.
Oh.
So altogether, I would put an estimate on these of $25,000 to $35,000.
Oh my goodness.
Guest's chance encounter with a pair of paintings in a Minneapolis gallery in 1959 turned out to be a happy accident with a surprising backstory. Drawn to the beauty of the Parisian scenes, the guest impulsively purchased the paintings for $150 each, not realizing the story behind the artist or the potential value they held. The paintings were indeed Parisian views by A. Gisson, but then had an unexpected twist. André Gisson, the artist that the guest thought was a French painter, was not French at all. In fact, he was Anders Gittelson, a struggling artist from Brooklyn who, while facing career challenges, had to reinvent himself as André Gisson, a Frenchman born in 1910.
Said he was born in 1910 and was named André Gisson. He lived in Westport, Connecticut most of his life and painted there.
Despite his fabricated identity, Gisson's talent was undeniably impressive, evident in the Parisian views presented. The most delightful news, however, is the significant increase in the value of Gisson's paintings. The estimated price of the pair of Parisian views would fetch between...
I would probably expect to get $3,000 to $4,000 for them.
The guest, originally from Mississippi, brought in a painting by a local Mississippi artist, Marie Hall. She had purchased it for a mere $1,500 in a group of 3 paintings from an estate sale. Marie Hall is a respected but local artist whose works typically remained within Mississippi.
She lived in Bellhaven, which is a neighborhood in Jackson. My husband and I lived there.
The painting itself, titled Yellow Hill, surprised the appraiser with its abstract style, a departure from Hall's usual impressionistic work. The painting is probably from the 1950s or 1960s, a period that favored modern and abstract styles. This work is an oil on canvas with a good size and very harmonious colors, the nice greens. It's a very nice painting, and in the market today, people are much more interested in mid-century modernism than they are in the earlier realistic impressionist styles. While a more traditional floral piece by Hall might be worth around $2,000, The abstract Yellow Hill is estimated at a much higher value of
$15,000.
Oh, great. Great. My husband will be very pleased.
These Japanese mixed metal bronze vases, acquired by the guest grandfather during World War II in France.
These are Meiji period vases, they're turn of the century, and it's likely that the mounts were added shortly after their import to France.
Made of gold over bronze with silver petals, the vases featured intricate relief and cutaway designs, showcasing a blend of Japanese and European artistic styles. Mounted in a chinoiserie, or Japanism manner with French bronze mounts, likely added after import to France, these vases exhibit a unique blend of cultural influences. The patina on these vases is highly valued, and their untouched condition is a rarity.
Too often we see wonderful late 19th, early 20th century vases that someone has chosen to polish to an inch of their life.
Goodness.
These vases appeal to the collectors of Japanese works of art and those interested in European decorative arts. These Japanese mixed metal vases are valued at
overall value, a conservative auction estimate would be $4,000 to $6,000.
Wow, that's great.
The guest neighbors, who were avid antique collectors, stumbled upon it while visiting an antique store in Canada. They purchased it for a modest sum, between $15 and $25, and it adorned their living room wall for 4 decades. Despite a burglary, the vanity remained untouched while other silver items were taken. This fold-out vanity was manufactured by the Rogers Smith Company, headquartered in Connecticut. It is made of silver plates. The company was among the leading producers of American silver plate in the late 19th century, with this piece dating back to around 1880 or 1870, during the peak of the aesthetic movement. The vanity showcases Japanese-inspired decorations surrounding the frame, along with intricate pierced decorations on all 4 corners. Its sides are designed to swing out, and there are loop handles for hanging. A delightful floral element decorates the reverse side, adding to its charm. It's recommended not to polish the vanity due to its silver plating loss, which has resulted in a brassy finish due to previous overcleaning. Despite some loss of silver plating, the vanity's value was estimated between $4,000 and $6,000.
Oh, okay.
Presented on the show today are prop signs for the famous movie Forrest Gump. They were brought by this guest, who traded a shrimp boat model for the designs. Written on the sign is the name Jenny, Jenny being a character in the movie that symbolizes innocence, vulnerability, and rebellion against social norms. Forrest Gump was a very successful movie, and it won 6 Academy Awards in 1995, including Best Picture and Best Director for Robert Zemeckis, who was an American film director, producer, and screenwriter. Also worthy to note that this item is in pristine condition. Another interesting thing about the Forrest Gump movie is that it is filled with references to historical events and figures from American history. Overall, this is a very interesting and valuable piece, and it would sell at auction for around...
This set would have a value between $3,000 and $5,000 at auction.
Thank you very much.
Ready, Indian viewers, for a captivating artifact linked to Mahatma Gandhi that will surely leave you astonished. The guest brought a spinning wheel gifted to her mother by Mahatma Gandhi in 1931.
She made a grand effort, and so he said he would give her a gift.
Her grandfather advocated for Indian independence in the United States.
This is a picture. This is my grandmother, her mom, and this is her sister.
The spinning wheel symbolized economic freedom by boycotting British goods through self-spun cotton clothing, making a powerful stand against colonial oppression. The guest family also met prominent figures such as Nehru and Indira Gandhi. During the turbulent Second Round Table Conference in London, Gandhi passionately advocated for Indian nationalism and self-rule. The spinning wheel's presence on the Indian flag, along with its association with Mahatma Gandhi, highlights its historical importance, rendering it a rare and valuable antique.
This is a typical style of Indian portable spinning wheel.
Right.
We would give a reasonable auction estimate at $50,000 to $75,000.
Wow. Wait till I tell my kids that.
The bronze sculpture depicts the guest mother at 7 years old in 1924, while she was in France attending school with her family. The artist, Paul Trubetskoy, signed and dated the sculpture, which also bears a Paris foundry mark. Trubetskoy, born in Italy to a Russian prince and an American singer,
He did a whole variety of subjects. He did animal topics. He did famous personalities, politicians of the time, intellectual thinkers.
Wow. Moved from Russia to France in 1905, then back to America before returning to France. His society portraits, like this sculpture, were a significant part of his career, capturing the elegance of high society. While some of Trubetskoy's works are more recognizable, this personal portrait of the guest mother still holds considerable value. A comparable sculpture by Trubetskoy would retail for around...
You'd expect to pay at a retail price in the $20,000 range.
Wow.
So it's been a very valuable piece.
Wow.
The guest presented a pair of eye-catching lapel clips, each a product of Cartier, a renowned name in the world of jewelry design. These Art Deco-era clips are crafted from coral, a timeless material often favored in Art Deco pieces. The clips boasted a vibrant pop of color. Accenting the coral were single-cut diamonds, their brilliance adding a touch of luxury and sparkle. The use of platinum as the setting further underscored the quality and craftsmanship of the pieces. This impeccable state of preservation, combined with the artistry and high-end materials, led to the remarkable valuation of...
A nice auction estimate would be about $10,000 to $15,000 for
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
This exquisite textile, featuring a tulip design with exotic leaves, has been a cherished heirloom in the Guest family for generations. Likely purchased by the Guest well-traveled grandfather, who was born in the late 1800s, this textile is attributed to Mariano Fortuny, a renowned artist known for reviving
a design that is a revival of Renaissance and Ottoman design that was popular at the end of the 19th century.
The textile, made of stenciled cotton, is made of 3 pieces joined together, with a border along the edge, indicating it was likely made in the 1920s. Despite its age, the textile retains its beauty, showcasing Fortuny's unique style and craftsmanship. This Fortuny textile is not just a piece of fabric, but a piece of history and art to be enjoyed and admired for years to come. This Mariano Fortuny textile is valued at a conservative estimate of...
And I'd say that conservatively it's worth $2,500, and it could well be worth, wow, more.
The Guest scored an amazing find at a garage sale in Gallup, New Mexico, a unique piece of beaded folk art for a mere $50. The Guest wasn't sure of its origin, however. It is a truly fascinating and valuable item. The piece likely dates back to the 1860s or 1870s. The details on the beaded figure, such as the clothing and the folding camp chair, pointed towards a military officer. The figure's placement on a Navajo-style weaving added another layer of uniqueness. The origin of the artwork remains a mystery. It could have been crafted by a Native American tribe like the Ute or Navajo, or it could be the work of an Anglo person.
Probably dyed with a substance called cochineal, which comes from ground-up insects.
This ambiguity meant the piece could be offered for sale in either an American folk art auction or a Native American art auction. Regardless of its origin, the estimated value of the beaded artwork is between
$5,000 and $7,000.
Yeah. Just made my day.
Guest brought in a Rolex watch, a cherished heirloom imbued with sentimental value. His father, a Navy dentist who served in Vietnam performing facial reconstruction surgeries, had purchased the watch in Hong Kong in 1969 for a mere $110. The Guest himself had also proudly worn the watch throughout his own naval career, intending for it to become a family legacy passed down to his children. It's a 1969 Rolex Explorer, a highly sought-after model renowned for its robustness and clear, legible face. It has a Jubilee Swiss bracelet, which is a Rolex bracelet and believed to be a different, later Rolex bracelet. Taking into account both the collectability of the Rolex Explorer 1 model and the excellent condition of the watch itself, the estimated worth is a staggering
$12,000 to $15,000 is what it would sell for.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Guest received the lamp from their father-in-law, who was given it by one of his patients, but didn't want it himself. The appraiser identifies the lamp as possibly made by Duffner Kimberly, a company formed in 1905.
Oliver Kimberly was an employee at one time of Tiffany Studios, and he did work in the glassmaking department.
The lamp likely dates back to around 1909. This lamp is described as unusual because it's a desk lamp, which is not commonly seen. It features a bronze base with a shell motif, which is repeated on the shade's ribs, and
also the finish. They favored the gold finishes rather than the brown finish.
Despite being typical of Duffner and Kimberly style, the lamp is not signed, which was common as only about 10% of their lamps were signed, typically the more expensive ones. This lamp has some issues, including cracks in the glass and a non-functioning wiring system. In its current condition, the lamp could be sold at retail venues for
could be sold between $3,000 and $4,000. Now, if this lamp were perfect, it could be worth between $6,000 and $7,000.
From the Victorian period to being passed down to him by his great-great-grandmother, this piece of art is worth a lot more than it looks.
We call it a whiskey crock. Really don't know what it is. It just was passed down from generation to generation.
What seems like a normal jug wrapped around by a snake is called a temperance jug.
And during the Victorian period, they were kind of prudish about things.
The snake in question is a rattlesnake that increases the jug's visual appeal and perceived value. During the Victorian period, these jugs were created to signify that alcohol was bad for you. For something created for such a purpose, one would expect that it would auction at nothing more than $100. But due to standing the test of time, it auctions for a whopping $8,000 to $12,000.
Wow.
A woman brings in a family heirloom, a portrait paired with a table. She explained the portrait belonged to the husband's great-great-grandmother.
She was from Camden, South Carolina, and her husband died in the Civil War.
This amazing oil-on-canvas portrait, estimated to be from the 1860s, depicts a woman in mourning attire. The appraiser suggests it could be a tribute to the woman's husband who died in the Civil War. However, the table tells a different story. It's an American Empire occasional table, crafted with a dramatic black figure marble top and accentuated by acanthus leaf carvings, which is believed to be from 1820, much older than the portrait. The table was likely made in Philadelphia. Due to its exceptional quality and period style, the appraiser estimates its value at a staggering $10,000 to $15,000 at auction.
Oh my gosh! I really love it.
While the sentimental value of the portrait is undeniable, the appraiser estimates its market value to be between $800 and $1,200.
Wonderful. This is such a great day. Thank you. Thank you.
The guest brought in a rare treasure, an original illustration by Arthur Rackham, a celebrated children's book illustrator from England. The guest acquired it from the estate of James Langstroth, who died in 1961 and was a Boy Scout leader when he was in the Boy Scouts. Arthur Rackham's illustrations are highly collectible and beloved by many. This particular piece wasn't just any illustration. It was a detailed depiction of fairies sewing clothes, dating back to 1908 and originating from A Midsummer Night's Dream. Recognizing the immense value of the artwork and its condition, its auction price is,
I would say we might put something like $30,000 to $60,000 on it, but I would expect that it would sell towards the high end of that figure. And for insurance purposes, you could even say as much as $75,000 or $80,000.
Guest family had a connection to the artwork attributed to the renowned American Western artist Charlie Russell, dating back to the late 1800s.
The story is that my great-great-uncle, Phil Weinard, was in Helena, Montana.
However, upon their departure, Russell and Stilwell left some paintings and sketches, and Weinard decided to keep them in exchange for the horse and saddle they had taken. The appraiser noted the significance of Russell's trip to Alberta in 1888, where he stayed with the Blackfeet tribe and developed a deep connection with Native Americans.
1888 ended up being a very seminal year for Charlie Russell, and the Alberta trip was really important. He stayed with the Blackfeet tribe.
The artwork in question was a graphite drawing depicting Russell's painting with members of the Blackfeet tribe. At the back side of the portrait, there was another drawing of an Indian chief. Depending on if the portrait is real, potential value was estimated to be,
it could have an insurance value of $20,000. Russell is an extraordinarily important and beloved American artist.
The guest brought in a fascinating piece, a maquette for a sculpture by Alexander Calder. Her father's metalworking shop had been commissioned by Calder himself to fabricate the full-sized version for the 1958 Brussels World's Fair. Alexander Calder is a very famous 20th century American sculptor whose father was a sculptor and was born in Philadelphia. Calder's artistic approach blended artistic vision with a specific background. This article shows the piece before it was painted. This piece was meant to revolve because it had a motor on it and revolved once a minute around its carved wood base. It's a very desirable collectible. However, it is really easy to fake because they are made of thin sheet metal.
One of the things, though, they're easy to fake. These are cut with tin snips out of a sheet of, sheet metal, and they're painted with household paint.
At auction, however, the value of the maquette is
the $50,000 to $75,000 range.
Really? Oh my! Oh my!
This elegant engagement ring, dating back to the late 1920s, is a stunning example of the transition between the Belle Epoque and Art Deco periods.
Well, let me tell you, you have a carat in the center, an old European cut.
The ring's design showcases elements from both periods, with delicate mill-grain detailing and scrolling motifs characteristic of the Belle Epoque, alongside geometric and angular elements. Crafted in platinum, the ring bears a maker's mark indicating its likely origin in the United States, possibly New York, where your grandfather purchased it for your grandmother in New Jersey. While the ring is a treasured family heirloom, it requires a minor repair as the center stone is slightly loose. Once restored, its estimated value would be around.
If you were looking at a beautiful salon, you would find this for about $12,000.
Really? $12,000? Oh my gosh. Wow.
The guest brought in a magnificent pocket watch with a potentially remarkable history. Family lore suggests the watch belonged to Pancho Villa, a notorious Mexican revolutionary who supposedly traded it for a car.
He had killed a man in Mexico City and took the watch off of him.
The watch originated in Mexico City before the 1900s, and the inscription on the dial matched a known jeweler there, La Esmeralda. Crafted from 18-karat gold and featuring rose diamonds with the initials of the original owner mounted on the case. It boasts a complex Swiss chronograph movement with multiple functions, including a moon phase indicator and a stopwatch. The matching 18-karat gold chain with the diamond-encrusted fob adds to the watch's overall value. The lever here is to make it chime, which is sometimes called blind man's function.
Pushing this lever and counting the chimes.
Oh, how interesting.
At an auction, this watch is estimated to be worth
somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000.
Would it be worth more if I could prove the story?
Definitely.
That's what I thought.
This captivating story, our guest shares a cherished picture of her family standing alongside Mahatma Gandhi. The guest reveals that her mother was just 7 years old when they met the iconic figure Gandhi.
However, and she was only 7 at the time. She can only imagine, being so excited. So he said to her,
and promised the owner's mother a gift, a spinning wheel. The owner proudly displays this historic artifact, which serves as a symbol of inspiration. She is reminded daily of the power of perseverance. For her, it's a reminder that anything is possible. The value of this historical spinning wheel is $50,000 to $70,000. The guest inherited this dazzling necklace, earrings, and ring set from her adventurous great-aunt Mimi. This unique set originated in South America, crafted sometime between 1935 and 1945. The centerpiece is a demi-bib necklace, a shorter style that sits beautifully on the neckline. It's adorned with sunny cretonne stones, accented by what appear to be diamonds.
When I tested them, they're not diamonds.
Oh.
But they're not glass, they're white sapphire.
However, they turn out to be white sapphires. Still lovely stones, but not quite diamonds. It also includes matching drop earrings and a ring, all crafted in the same dazzling style. One interesting detail to note is the gold content. It's a bit lower than expected, at 9 carats, which can sometimes be a clue about the piece's origin.
We think this piece was made in South America. I would think that a piece like this was probably made sometime between 1935 and 1945.
The appraiser speculates on the influence of the Great Depression-era fashion, where bold and glamorous pieces were popular. The combined value of the necklace, earrings, and ring as a set is estimated at $3,000 to $4,000.
Gosh, really?
Yeah, it certainly would.
The guest brought a circa 1903 Thomas Edison kinetoscope picture film projector to the show. Thomas Edison was an American inventor and businessman. He developed many devices in the field such as electric power generation, mass communication, sound recording, and motion pictures. The projecting kinetoscope was electrically powered and worked with a celluloid film. The electrically driven reels passed the sprockets wound film through the brass lens using a wooden knob on the end. It has a nameplate text reading Improved Projecting Kinetoscope, made by Edison Manufacturing Company, Orange, New Jersey, USA. The value of this exquisite piece is estimated to be around $1,000 to $2,000. Silver pin given to a friend is what we have today on this episode. This silver pin was given to our guest in 1944 by her friend, whose name was Jose de Rivera. He was an American sculptor known for his pioneering work in kinetic sculpture and geometric abstraction. Presented alongside the pin is a picture of our guest with de Rivera, which takes us to a time when he was still a struggling artist.
He wrote me that letter, which is a wonderful letter, so I've always kept it.
And when you met him, was he a struggling artist?
Yes.
De Rivera's sculptures often had geometric shapes and precise lines imbued in them as evidence in this piece. This pin, gracefully curved with a polished stainless surface, clearly shows the efforts de Rivera put into his works. With his meticulous attention to detail and craftsmanship, he made this piece out of sterling silver, fabricating it himself with his signature at the back. A piece like this epitomizes the modern movement of the 1950s, and with its sleek, elegant form, would probably bring between...
I would think at auction it would probably bring between $5,000 and $7,000.
Oh, okay.
The guest brought in a beautiful pendant with a rich family history. It had been passed down through 4 generations of women, beginning with the guest's great-grandmother, who arrived in Tucson in 1878. A photograph even showed the great-grandmother wearing the pendant around 1915. The pendant's origin is likely New York City, dating back to the turn of the 20th century. The design embodied the popular Belle Epoque style, characterized by its fine platinum work, mill-graining details, and wreath or garland motifs. The pendant itself featured a central diamond of nearly 1 carat, surrounded by smaller graduating diamonds for a total weight of 5 carats. There is increasing demand for Belle Epoque jewelry, especially considering the exceptional quality of the platinum work. The estimated value of the pendants at auction is between
$7,000 and $9,000.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The guest inherited a beautiful painting from her cousin. The artist responsible for this work is William Mason Brown, a prominent figure associated with both the Hudson River School and the American Pre-Raphaelite. Brown's paintings were known for their meticulous portrayal of nature, evident in the detailed rendering of trees, cows, water, and even the floral still life. Created between 1850 and 1869, the era of the American Civil War, the painting embodied a sense of nostalgia. The title, The Old Homestead, together with the empty cottage and windblown curtains, hinted at a yearning for a simpler, more innocent time. The painting is in excellent condition and also has the potential for significant improvement through cleaning. This cleaning process could enhance the colors by 30 to 50%. At auction, the estimated price of this is between
$30,000 and $50,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
The guest recounts how she acquired the crock from an elderly lady who used it for water, offering to buy her a container instead. She bought it for $10 and kept it in her basement for years. The crock was made by Thompson & Williams in Morgantown, West Virginia, around the time of the centennial.
Thompson & Williams was a small partnership, active only for about 3 years, right around the time of the centennial. They opened in 1875 and closed in 1878.
It's a 20-gallon crock, which was used for storing liquids and pickles. The crock shows signs of kiln damage, with bits stuck on, possibly from being too close to something else in the kiln. The top is a little sagged in one area, but overall, it has survived well. American crocks' value depend on condition, age, maker, rarity, and ornamentation. This crock is not from a well-known maker, but is rare and has a good age. At auction, the crock would carry an estimate of at least...
It would carry an estimate of at least $3,000.
Oh boy. Thank you.
The guest shares a historic photo of their great-grandfather, who worked at Teco. The appraiser identifies Mr. Gates in the photo, who was the founder of Teco in 1881. Teco was renowned for its pottery and architectural ceramics. Quinça tiles and rare arts and crafts pieces are from Teco. Matte green of Teco gleams on a rose vase adorned with irises. The vase's microcrystalline glaze enhances its beauty, a feature that has been present since 1905. The rare crystalline pot has unique crystals. Different Teco pieces exhibit distinct architectural and organic styles. The carved pipes, arts, and craft design make them valuable. The appraiser meticulously evaluates each piece with expertise.
These pipes, to a Teco collector, must be worth about $500 a piece. Oh. Something like this, maybe $600 to $900. Something more architectural, which is more what people are looking for these days. That's more like $1,000 to $1,500. A rare vase like that, more like $1,500 to $2,000. This beautiful tile alone, $1,000. And this big one, easily $20,000 to $30,000. And perhaps, who knows what that would bring? It could bring $40,000 at auction. It's spectacular. I've never seen this particular form. Oh my.
The combined updated value of the whole collection is $80,000 to $120,000. Not every day you see women illustrated on banjos, but that seems to be the norm in Philadelphia, where this banjo originated.
Philadelphia being one of the more important schools of banjo making. Classic Philadelphia school is a sort of pediment head on it.
Made by legendary Samuel Swaim Stewart in the 20th century, this piece of art has it all, with a pearl and abalone wire inlay combo for maximum sound production. Despite the expertly made wire combo, perhaps the most appealing part is the illustration usually present in banjos from Philadelphia. It's no wonder this piece of art is worth between $800 and $1,200. The guest brings in a two-headed llama, which she purchased at a PBS auction. This item is identified as the Pushmi Pulyu, the two-headed llama from the movie Dr. Dolittle. It was made by Steve in 1967 for the promotional tours of the movie. A really nice feature is the heads that can actually turn around. This item is incredibly valued by collectors, and in this condition would easily fetch, at auction, $5,000 to $8,000. The guest inherited a collection of Chinese jade pieces from their father, who acquired them in China during the late 1930s and 1940s while serving in the Army as a liaison. The guest's father learned Chinese and befriended Mr. Leong at number 10 Jade Street.
Mr. Leong would call him and say, "John, I have some pieces you might want to look at."
These jade pieces are of exceptional quality. The collection includes a Mughal-style dragon bowl from the 18th century featuring thin carving and crisp workmanship. Another bowl, also Mughal-style from the 18th century, features a ruby and intricate patterns, while a 17th century bowl features an animal known as Bijia, symbolizing warding off evil. The crow top piece has an imperial inscription, indicating it was specifically ordered for the emperor, with a conservative auction estimate of more than $600,000. The entire collection is valued between
for a total amount of between $710,000 to $1,070,000.
Damn, I just can't. I had no idea.
The expert praises the collection as one of the best they've seen and a remarkable find. The guest received the Beatles phonograph as a Christmas present from their aunt in 1964. Since then, it has been kept in a closet. The appraiser notes that the phonograph is a high-fidelity model, with the original packaging materials providing instructions. It's a 4-speed phonograph, model 1000, representing an early example of 1960s Beatles licensing merchandise memorabilia. The appraiser mentions that many similar phonographs were sold to fans in the early 1960s. In 2006, a similar phonograph sold at auction for $2,250. Our guest phonograph, in excellent condition, could sell for between
I think it would sell for no problem between $2,500 and $3,000, but $2,800 would be a really solid price at retail.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Today on the show, we are presented with an abstract oil painting with gold brushwork. The guest's father had bought the painting and passed it down to him. The painting was done by an abstract expressionist painter, Milton Resnick. Milton Resnick was an American man known for his large-scale gestural paintings, which often featured dense, layered composition with rich textures. Unlike his most known work, this particular painting is relatively small, but still shows qualities of his work as seen with the brushstroke. A very colorful piece, it exudes the intensity and raw emotional power that's often associated with Resnick's works.
This is a terrific picture that you brought. Milton Resnick is an interesting artist in that he has two important periods.
An oil painting, executed on canvas, radiates Resnick's belief in painting as a form of meditation or spiritual practice. A piece from someone that was part of the first generation of abstract expressionists and from his supposedly good period would fetch between...
At auction, you could expect this to fetch between $15,000 and $25,000.
Oh, well, that's great.
At a museum benefit sale, the guests stumbled upon a set of illustrations for a mere $100. These wonderful illustrations are by Gerard Goodnow, a well-known artist who created illustrations for both advertisements and books. There's a signature here at the lower left of this piece, and with this one, we have the information from the magazine. The artwork itself centered around a theme that has endured throughout art history: cats. This illustration was an original piece created for the cover of a Woman's Day magazine from August 1966. This particular illustration portrayed a cat in a protective stance. This illustration was likely a draft or work-in-progress version of the cover art, showcasing some variations from the final published piece. Even though this second piece wasn't the final product, both illustrations have an exceptional value, and the estimated worth of the entire collection is...
I would appraise the collection for insurance at $3,000. Wow. That's unbelievable.
These paintings are cherished family heirlooms passed down for generations.
From Boston. We moved here in 1950.
And they were in your wife's family for decades.
Yes, back 1800s and earlier.
The artist Harry van der Weyden's work captures the essence of Romanticism. Ignaz Marcel's Guggengegel's painting Schmeers Vergessen portrays a musician in a serene moment. Both paintings reflect the golden age of collecting in Boston. Boston was a hub for artistic innovation in the late 19th century. Guggengegel's Bavarian heritage shines through his meticulous style. He later painted portraits of Harvard professors. Harry van der Weyden's style harks back to classic Barbizon art. These paintings are in excellent condition, with one on wood and the other on canvas. The respective value of each painting is...
The Guggengeigel I would estimate between $5,000 and $7,000. And the Harry van der Weyden between $3,000 and $5,000.
The current value of these paintings has decreased to $5,000 to $8,000. Today with us on the show is a collection from the 1939 American musical fantasy film called The Wizard of Oz. The film is an adaptation of a 1900 children fantasy novel written by Frank Baum titled The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The collection features a picture of Bert Lahr, who had played the role of a farmhand, an African lion known as the Cowardly Lion. Bert Lahr was the step-grandfather of our guest, and he explains why our guest had this collection. Alongside the picture is a life cast or life mask of our guest grandfather, Herb.
My grandfather, who was most similar in facial features, was used to create the face for the Cowardly Lion display.
Herb's face was used to create the life cast as he had facial features resembling those of the Cowardly Lion. With an original script from the Wizard of Oz film on display, which gives us a glimpse into the dialogue and scenes in this beloved classic. A collection of items from a classic film that has become a beloved part of popular culture would have an insurance appraisal on it for about...
He told me put an insurance appraisal on it at about $150,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Today's piece was bought by our guest in 1985. It's a lamp made by a famous Dutch-American artist called Dirk van Erp. Dirk van Erp was famous for his metalworks, in particular his lamps made of copper and mica shades. In this lamp, we can clearly see the great craftsmanship of van Erp in creating hand-hammered copper lamps. On the underside of the lamp, we can see a windmill mark and van Erp's name, which serves as a signature.
And we can see on the underside his windmill mark and his name, Dirk van Erp.
And a thing of note is the closed box around the name, which invariably dates the lamp to circa 1910 to 1912, which was before Van Erp's immigration to the United States. As we look through the lamp, down the straps, we see the rivets at the edge of the lampshade, and can confirm that, just like what he was known for, this lamp was made with copper and mica.
So this lampshade is made of copper and mica, and the condition is really good here.
A really early, rare Van Erp lamp in good and great shape is expected to be auctioned at...
And I would expect this at auction to sell for in the region of $20,000 to $25,000.
You kidding me?
This bronze sculpture is a poignant and rare piece of artistry. Created by the talented American sculptor Abbastina St. Ledger Eberly, known for her focus on everyday people and immigrant life in New York City, this sculpture captures a tender moment between a mother and her child.
She was very, very accomplished early on. She came to New York and she did some work with another prominent American sculptor named Anna Hyatt Huntington.
As seen, the sculpture showcases Eberly's exceptional skill in capturing human emotion and detail, evident in the intricate modeling of the figures, and the inclusion of a small teddy bear, adding a charming touch to the piece. Also, the sculpture is signed A. St. L. Eberly and dated 1919, indicating its creation during a significant period in the artist's career.
Right below it is the foundry mark, the Zappo Foundry in New York City.
Despite the artist's short career, her work remains highly sought after, and this bronze sculpture is a testament to her legacy with an auction price of...
In a retail setting, this piece is probably around $15,000.
Wow. I didn't think it was worth that much.